I'm Eileen Diamond. I'm the one who had the kidney fail that needed the transplant in the first place.
Eileen Diamond is a part of our family. We grew up, I've known her since she was a baby. Her mom and dad were our best friends down at the shore.
Eileen is a good family friend. I was friends with her brother first, and she was pretty much like a little sister to me.
Eileen is a childhood friend. I've known her all my life.
I met Eileen the summer after I started dating Danielle.
It was the beginning of my senior year of college. I was doing my student teaching and I kept getting sick.
So she had texted me that she was in the hospital, wasn't feeling well, something was wrong with her kidney, very vague. Some level was 3 point something, and I was like, this is bad.
Yeah, I was actually out to dinner with Danielle the night Eileen called Danielle and said that she had to go to the hospital.
So I went, she got transferred to Philadelphia, to Hahnemann Hospital. I met her there, and the doctor was pretty much telling her what was going on. Her whole family was in the room, and the doctor said quite a few times chronic renal failure. And I knew immediately that that meant, you know, it was bad, and there was really nothing that they could do to fix that.
And at that time, no one really knew what was wrong. No one really knew anything that was going on with her. And little by little, once details started to come out, obviously it was a big shock to everybody and a big concern.
And Eileen, when the doctor left, they all looked at me and was like, what does that mean? And I was pretty much, I knew that, you know, she was going to need dialysis, going to need a kidney transplant. There was nothing to fix her kidneys at this point.
I was not aware of Eileen being sick for a while.
I was in and out of hospital for 1 month, and that's when my doctor and I decided I should go on dialysis.
She was so young, too. And you know that it just wouldn't kind of stay the same, that it continually gets worse and worse and worse until finally there's the complete failure.
And I didn't even realize how bad it was.
2009, December 2009 until May 16th, 2012, I did dialysis every single night.
Her dialysis was getting more severe. She needed to be hooked up to her machine longer and longer periods of time.
It's tough. It's somebody that you've known your whole life that now you're finding out they don't have a life anymore, and they're sick, and they might die.
My last semester in college, I did dialysis at school. So I would do that. I would go to class. I would be tired probably around noon, and I would always have to take a nap between 2:30 and 4. I was on dialysis for 10 hours, so that meant I had to, let's say I had to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. I had to make sure I was on dialysis at 10 o'clock at night, the night before. It started just 8 hours a night, but by the time the end, I had to be on 10 hours. So I had to make sure I planned everything around that.
She had been on the donor list for so long, and there was no match in sight. And I have an extra kidney, and I've seen what long waits do to people. The wait is enough to just drive people crazy and just gets antsy. So I decided to go out and get tested.
We just saw Eileen getting sicker and sicker, and that's when Pete said he would do it.
I wanted to donate and I couldn't, and he was a match, and he was just like, well, I'm healthy, I have a kidney, why not donate?
And when it came down to being a match, I was a very solid match for Eileen, so I was pretty encouraged.
Like, to us, the Diamonds are family. You know, to Pete, it was like he married into it, so I thought it was wonderful.
We weren't going to tell her until everything was set in stone, until we had a date set, until we had every single final test completed and signed off on. We didn't want to get her hopes up that, oh, I'm going to get, a kidney if something, God forbid, happens. I was just at the very end of the testing procedure. And there was one final test to do. They have to do a CAT scan to for two reasons. One, to determine which kidney is the easiest to take, and two, to determine how to take it out. They found something on the CAT scan which concerned them.
He was leaking protein in his urine. And I said, that's kind of odd, you know. And she had one of the other nurses look at that, and they said, well, they'll probably rerun it.
He said there was a pretty big mass on one of my kidneys. They couldn't really tell what it was from the CAT scan, so they wanted me to come in for an MRI. They weren't able to tell for sure. It's starting to seem like worst fears are coming true.
When I found out that Pete had cancer, the doctor let us know, and they said renal cell cancer. Pete had no idea what that meant, and working here, we have a lot of oncology patients, and renal cell cancer is usually pretty much a death sentence.
They told me, it's cancer. It was malignant. He said that typically most people who have this kind of cancer, it spreads before they even know it. He looked at Danielle and said, if we didn't find this when we found it, you would have been a widow by the time you were 30.
The tattoo is on his arm. It has my birth date on it. Pete knows that at that point he wouldn't be alive anymore.
I wanted to get a tattoo reminding me of everything that I've been given. If things went just a little differently, you wouldn't be here, so take advantage of it. And until I actually got the kidney removed, that was really all I could think about.
When I was in the waiting room with Pete, luckily my whole family was there to try to keep my mind off things, but honestly, I was worried that they were going to open him up and find more cancer.
I'm going to cry. It was scary.
They got everything. They got the whole kidney. The tumor was contained within the kidney, and that he was going to be okay.
I mean, the cancer, they took the kidney out, cancer's gone, and he's great.
The hospital staff, particularly the Roads 4 nurses, they were fantastic.
When you think about it, it's him being such a brave person ended up saving his life when he was trying to save somebody else's life. I was inspired by Pete. When we were in the hospital with him, after everything, I remember sitting there and looking at him and thinking, one of us needs to step up and do it.
I was a little surprised when Mike decided to step up and donate.
And I was like, what?
To hear him thinking about that was kind of like, oh wow.
And I guess because Eileen was getting sicker and sicker, Mike decided to, but he did not mention it to me.
Pretty scary decision, but I went and started getting tested.
But I was almost a little envious that he actually gets to do it. It's like, I tried so hard and look what happens to me, and but Mike was able to step up big, and he really pulled through.
But I was really proud of him when he decided to donate.
And I said, are you sure you thought about this, Mike? This is major surgery. You have to make sure you think about it. And he said, oh, I already thought about it, Mom, it's fine. This is what I'm going to do.
When Mike sets his mind to something, there's no talking him out of it. It doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter who you are, anybody. You're not going to convince him not to do what he wants to do. If anything, you're just going to make him that much more determined to do it.
When I get something in my head, there's absolutely no talking me out of it.
When Mike's on a mission, Mike accomplishes his missions.
I made my decision before they even told me that I was approved to get the surgery.
It was, Mike called me on April 17th last year and said, I have an extra kidney, do you want it?
The day of the surgery, I was very scared.
My mom was late picking me up from my house to take me to the hospital.
Well, I picked up Mike from the surgery. Of course, we were a little late, not too late.
No, because he wasn't late.
I was mad that she wasn't there yet to take me to get my insides cut out.
He called me at like 5 a.m. and was like, "Where's Mom? She's not here. Are you already there?" And I'm like, "No, your surgery's not for 3 hours."
And when she got there and I was mad and said, "Mom, you're late. We have to be there soon," she said, "They can't start without you, Mike."
I wasn't that late. They can't start without him. What is the big deal?
Everyone around me was making me nervous. I wasn't nervous.
So the time finally came for me to get wheeled in for surgery, and they lay me down flat, so all I can see is the ceiling of the hospital going by, and they're wheeling me through doors and this, that, and I just started to sing at the top of my lungs. The day of the surgery, right up until they knock you out, they keep saying, "Are you sure that you want to go through with this? You can back out at any moment. No one will be mad." I was on the operating table. They were getting ready, and they said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" "Yes." Then they put you out.
You know, it turns out that the surgery was a smashing success, and everyone's doing fabulously.
Right after the surgery, I immediately felt better.
I don't notice it. I feel exactly as I did before.
Now everybody's doing fantastic. Mike is back to normal, just minus a kidney. Eileen is doing awesome. She takes really good care of herself.
However, I did go to Vegas, which I would never thought of doing 2 years ago. So that's how things have drastically changed within the year.
And her kidney is pretty much functioning like a normal kidney. All her levels are perfectly normal, which is, great, and which is what we would expect from a living donor. So we're hoping that her kidney will last at least another 10 to 20 years.
She's a whole new person. She's active, she's up and about, she's hanging out, she doesn't get tired all the time.
Pete is doing wonderful. We go back, like I said, every 6 months for scans. He is still cancer-free.
The doctor said it was a pristine kidney. It was just perfect.
Yes, we named the kidney Billy. Billy the kidney.
So Billy the kidney lives on. Yeah.
Without finding Pete's cancer and getting it and curing that, we wouldn't have Owen right now. And he's the best thing that's ever happened to us.
My Owen is my grandson.
As soon as the cancer was taken out of me, a couple months later, we're pregnant. And the doctors don't think that's a coincidence. Without the cancer coming out, not only would, I probably not be here in about 6 months, 7 months, but Owen wouldn't be here either.
They have a family now, and I got my baby.
Well, please consider being an organ donor.
I mean, there's no better gift to give than a second chance at life.
It's just something that's so noble, and it takes a lot of bravery, and in the end, two people's lives have been saved.
There's plenty of myths out there about, a doctor's gonna see that you're an organ donor and they're gonna let you die so they can harvest your organs. I mean, that's not true.
I see every day when I'm working here, people who are on their last days, they get a liver, kidney, and it saves their lives, and it's all their family wants, all they want, and it's just worth it.
Organ donation is impacts so many people in so many different ways.
I was lucky enough to be part of 2 stories.
Because it doesn't just impact the person who receives your organ. Everybody else on the list moves up 1 slot. And it might not seem like a whole lot, but that 1 slot could mean life or death for countless people.
Whether you feel comfortable being a living donor, or you just want to put a donor down in your license or your will, so if you do unfortunately pass away, you can help others do it, because it might not seem something big to you, but for the person who's receiving the kidney or any other organs or tissue or blood, it means the world to them. You could be that change in their life.